Hello everybody, pile and plunder reverse applique. It's a technique that I'm quite well known for. Those of you that don't know me wouldn't know that, and that's fair enough. It's a very simple technique. It's a raw edged machine version of reverse applique, and I've been promising a how to. I did a book. There's my book, machine pile and plunder machine reverse applique, with hundreds of how-tos and photos and God knows what, and there's a whole pattern section, and the actual book is out of print because it's a few years ago now, but I can do these soft versions of if anybody's interested. Anyway, so it's called in my book pile and plunder reverse applique because we're piling up our fabrics and we're cutting away. Okay, so applique means to add one bit on top of another. So you know, where you applique a bit of fabric on top of another fabric. So we're reversing that process, we're taking it away. So reverse applique. I call it pile and plunder because you're piling all your fabrics up and then you're plundering the layers. It's quite simple really, that's my only reason for it. But it keeps me a little bit different to other people's versions of this because I have taken it to a bit of an extreme. All right, so there's one of mine there that you can see. Behind me we've got a couple of different daisy runners. We've got the tree of life. I've got loads of patterns that I do in this technique because it's simple, it's quick, and it's good fun. More to the point, you never know what you're going to get because you layer them on, you don't know what you're going to cut through to. It's like painting a picture really, you cut out a section at a time and there we go. But let me explain this to you properly. How do we do this? Right, the reason for me showing you is this one that I was doing on our Facebook Live on Sunday, and I'm selling some kits for those. So okay, so we have our top fabric. Okay, I tend to use black because it makes other colours pop, and you get black outlines on everything. Can you see across that there and back and do and it makes it look like a stained glass window, which is really quite nice. Or Celtic applique, or all of those that have a nice thin black outline. So it's a cheats version. It is raw edge. If you don't like raw edge and scruffy, you might have an issue with it, but actually try it because it is good fun anyway, and then decide if you don't like it. All right, so I tend to use black and you draw your design onto it. Now quite surprisingly, use a black cotton, a plain black cotton. Don't use anything with a pattern on it because otherwise you won't see through it. Because if you put that on a light box over a pattern, you will see that pattern through it. It's quite amazing. You can actually see through your plain black, believe it or not. If you've not got a light box, stick your pattern on a window and put your black over it, and then you will see. One little tip with that, where you're drawing your pattern through, you'll be drawing and drawing and drawing, and you think, I can't see that, I've not done it. Stand to one side and look and you will see that you've done it. It doesn't really show, it's quite weird. It's a little bit of a weird, yeah, definitely weird. I use white pencils, all right, watercolor pencils, which is not a sewing thing. If you've got sewing stuff, use sewing stuff, but I use white watercolor pencils because they actually stay in the fabric longer. Okay, so that you're working on it, they don't rub off with your hands. Chalk will disappear on you before you finish doing all your machining. Okay, so try not to use a chalk. Soap will disappear on you. You want something that's going to stay in there for a good length of time. Some of the new pens that write on black, they're quite good, but it needs to be removable, obviously, come the end. So white watercolor pencil is what I use. I think I usually use a Derwent pencil, but whatever I can get hold of. I found that out by accident actually, because it was the nearest thing to me the one day that I was doing. So there we go. Right, so we're putting our design on the black, okay, on the right side. Underneath it we then stack our fabrics right sides up, and we put the black on the top. Okay, so here we've got a nice bright one, we've got a green one, and we've got a yellow one. All right, now you could use any sorts of fabric you want underneath the black. Do use a cotton for the black for the top, because it keeps your designing easier. It just makes life easier when you're sewing on that, and it doesn't stretch and shiny and do horrible things. You could put shiny in between your layers, not a problem. You could put nets in between your layers if you want a bit of glitter. Voiles look lovely. You do want to check and see what does it look like on top of which fabric. All right, so if you can see through it and it's sheer, do check what's underneath, because it will change the look of it. Audition your fabrics, folks. Audition them to make sure it's what you want. You might want a nice shiny, but actually it might get lost on that one. So try it on that one, or maybe not. Might look good on that one. Do you like it? Is it going to look good on that one? If it's a dark red shiny or something, that might look fabulous on there, because you get different tones. So just play around with your fabrics and decide in what order you fancy layering them. Why have I put them in this order? I've put the red and patterny one on the top. Okay, so there's the initial pattern that I was using, so that when I cut away, it's the first thing I see. Do I like it there? If I like it there, I leave it alone. If I don't like it, I go another depth, like the yellows here or the greens over here. All right, so that's the only thing that why and where I would put colour. Different types of fabrics. If you've got lots of shinies, try not to put them together, because in your pancake you're going to machine all this in a minute, and they'll slide around and put all sorts of weirdness going on, and creases and things, which actually can look fabulous. I quite like it when it goes wrong, because you get all sorts of other things coming through, and then you can embellish it after. You could put some beads in it, or threads, embroideries or whatever. So don't be afraid and think, oh god, that don't look right, it's got a crease in it. Make the crease purposeful. Fabulous. All right, if you're using like a velvet is to die for in this technique. Put it on the bottom of your pile, because you're going to have to cut through all of these things to get to whatever layers. If you've got a velvet on the top, it sheds lots of fibers. Absolute pain in the bottom. You don't need it. Put it on the bottom so you don't have to cut through it all the time. And then what you'll find is actually a velvet will pop through the black, and it will be all sort of scrummy. It's worth knowing. It's worth knowing. I'm just thinking, this one here, I don't know if you can tell, there's a net, a shiny net over the red there. You can probably hear it. Yeah, so it can look lovely. All right, what do we do then? So we've got our layers. I don't usually use more than 5 at the most, because you've got to cut through all of them. I have tried up to 13. Don't bother, it's hard work, it's not worth it. All right, 5 at the most. So pick colours or designs that are significantly different to each other, so that actually you get a variety coming through. If you put everything that's all actually quite subtle and lovely, there's no point really doing it. You're not going to see the difference in the effort you make. All right, so keep it like the tree, see, keep things quite different. All right, there we are. So that's that. We layer them up. Tack around your edge to keep what in effect is a pancake, all right, together, so that when you're machining, you don't get that bit flop into that bit and you're still machining. Another pain, believe me, I've done it. So don't cheat. Tack around your outside edge, keep everything where it should be. All right, and then you're going to machine through all of these layers, all of your design lines, through all of the layers. All right. Excuse me. I tend to use a zigzag, quick and easy more than anything. I'm just looking for this one again. You can see here lots of zigzags, and I've used a variegated thread there. I love variegated threads on this, they look fabulous. Use any thread you want, use more than one thread. If you're using black, be careful. You'll do your eyeballs in when you're chopping out after. It looks fantastic and you use black, but you've got to have good eyesight. All right, so you're going to keep a real tight stitch, not as tight as a satin stitch, or you'll use so much thread it will be ridiculous, but a nice tight one. On my machine, I think I use, it's like 2 or 2.5 wide by 1 length. All right, and that generally transfers into most machines. All right, so that's your sort of size you're looking at. And then away you go, machining through all of your layers. Okay, once you've done that, you're literally going to cut it all apart. Okay, now somewhere says she, I'm not going to cut anything because I've not actually been able to, I didn't have time to machine and prep for you like I would have wanted to. Okay, now small sharp pointy scissors. Those that know me know I've got a bit of a thing about this because they need to be strong, solid. You don't want anything that wibbles and wobbles. You want something that's actually very sharp on the end, and can cut through layers. All right, but it also needs, as far as I'm concerned, to have quite a big sort of finger hole or whatever you want to call it, because otherwise you land up with really hurty fingers. Okay, this technique comes with a bit of a health warning. It can be obsessive, and once you start cutting and having the fun bit, you could cramp your hands, so do be aware. All right, it's actually a very portable technique, so if you do all your layering and your machining, you can then take it wherever you want with you. I usually have a little wooden bowl and my scissors, and all my bits go into the bowl as I'm chopping away. All right, so we're chopping away. Now on this one, I've chopped the black first to reveal the orange. I've gone a bit deeper on this side because I wanted to reveal the background so that you can see the yellow. I've avoided the green that side and left it this side so that I could cut some background away and some more background here. Now you can see a flappy bit going on there. All right, now let me get that closer to you. So I've cut a little bit off of each layer, so you've got a bit of black, a bit of orange, and if I can lift that up without killing myself, there's a bit of yellow and then a bit green. All right, there you go. So as it looks like petals. That's fun, can be fun. If you're going to try that, you do need the stitch up the middle because otherwise it will just flop. All right, what else have we got? That one there, I've cut the black away and I've exposed the orange, and then I've cut a bit of the orange to show a bit of yellow, and then I've cut the yellow to show a bit of green. Why not? What you could do is, okay, so say I've cut the orange, you could go back in the machine around there and cut a bit more, put another shape in it, doesn't matter, go down another layer, a bit of background come out there just to highlight life. All right, so the cutting bit is good fun, it really is. So depending how far you cut away from your thread, you get different borders, in effect, little borders. So how wide do you want your black to show? You might want it quite away from your stitch, you might want it up close to your stitch, that's totally up to you. Okay, what else can I tell you? Well, this particular one that I'm selling at the minute, so you've done all of this, okay, and you've done as much as you want to do. So then turn it to the back. I can show you on this one better actually. All right, turn it to the back, and then what you could do is cut off your excess fabric from behind. All right, there's not so much on this one. I've done this so that you can see all the different layered fabrics, so that you know what's where and why. Okay, but you can cut away the excess from the back, and what you can then do is cut that excess, and you can use that as your binding. All right, so on the little kits I've got going at the moment, you've got a black piece with your design drawn on. Now all of the designs are individual and different because I've just sat there and drawn them. That's how I do it. I'm fortunate in so much as I don't think about it, I just do it. All right, so there's a limited amount of these, so limited edition art pieces really, and then you can do your own stitching and stuff. So I've done all machining, I've cut everything apart, I've then embellished, so I've got beads on that one and that one. This one, as I was saying Sunday, I think I was having a moment, French knots. It's not normal, is it? I spent a whole, I don't know how long, doing French knots. Not right for me anyway. Lovely, why not? There's also, I don't know if you can see up and down here, there's some traily bits, all right, which you could do by machine if you wanted, or I've done a mix. So I've done some by machine and some of it is hand quilting. So I've put the wadding, once I've cut everything and beaded, cut everything, I put the wadding on, then I bead into the wadding and hand quilt into the wadding, then I put my backing fabric on. so it covers any mess. It's quite handy. It's only a small piece of work. It's fine, it's not going to fall apart. It's just like a little table set or a little wall hanging or whatever you want it to be. Okay, so do you know, it's as much or as little as you want to make it. It is good fun. You'll land up with a pile of little pieces all over the floor. Pick them up and then you can save them and use them for shadow applique, which is the other thing that I teach as well, which is good fun. All right, so this is called reverse applique. Traditionally it would have been you'd cut a hole in a bit of, layer them, cut a hole in a bit of fabric, and you would turn it all under, all around the outside edge, and then you would hand stitch all the way around so as it looked really, really neat and lovely. A bit like molar work, which is a traditional technique. This is a fast and furious technique compared, and it is a little bit raw edged. If you were to wash this, it'll fray a little bit, but it'll settle itself down, so long as you've got a tight stitch going on. I wouldn't necessarily want to bung it in the washing machine every 10 minutes, but it will cope. All right, so there we are, reverse applique. Okay, any questions, give me a shout. The extreme is totally up to you. How do you want to do it? Okay, if you fancied, there is a book there that I wrote with all sorts of things in, how to add extra bits in the center before you carry on, how to make a quilt that you can put in the wash. There's even a photo of me hiding in a bush with a quilt. Don't ask me why. It was a nice day. They put me in a bush. They took photos of me in bushes, you know, whatever it takes. There we go. I hope you enjoy that. Do enjoy the technique, have fun, send me photos of what you've done. Any questions, give me a shout. All right, books, patterns, all of my patterns on my website abbieanne.com. You'll find my shop. Yes, they're reverse applique, but you could do them in applique if you wanted. If you really can't stand the thought of the raw edges, you can use all the patterns to do applique. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, totally up to you. Loads of lovely threads. New needle. Put a new needle in your machine. What else do I need to tell you? That's probably about it, really. That's your basis. I could go on for hours on this topic. I'm not going to, because this is enough to get you going, and you take it to your own extreme. All right, so I'm just going to say enjoy yourselves. All right, be lovely.